He offered money. More than enough to disappear forever. She should have walked away. But Z was tired of hiding, tired of silence, tired of pretending she wasn't still dangerous. So she said yes, and just like that, the red dust began to rise. They found her at the edge of nowhere, an old bar buried in dust, forgotten by time. No name on the wall, just broken fans, bad drinks. Zainab Kamara. They called her Z. Ex-soldier, ex-spy, ex-everything. She didn't smile, didn't talk much, but she was the kind of woman you hired when things got ugly. That night, a man came looking for her. Dressed to clean for a place that dirty. Sunglasses in the dark, voice like cold steel. That's how you know trouble has arrived. He slid a map across the table, marked one place, Tombukora. A ghost town buried in the Sahara. He said there was something under the sand. Something powerful, something old. He offered money. More than enough to disappear forever. She should have walked away. But Z was tired of hiding, tired of silence, tired of pretending she wasn't still dangerous. So she said yes, and just like that, the red dust began to rise. To walk into the deep Sahara, you don't just need courage, you need people who don't fear death. Z called to names, only two. First was Baz, Bakri Dogo, a giant from a goddess, former rebel, a man built from war. He didn't talk much, but when he did, someone usually bled. Then there was Dumi, real name Dumisani Malulik. South African tech head, fast mouth, fast hands. Drove a buggy loaded with drones and bad decisions. Together, they were a problem no one wanted. But for this job, they were perfect. They loaded the truck with just enough gear to die slower. Water, ammo, maps from the war days. The road to Tombukora was no road at all, just wind, dust, and death waiting under the dunes. 3 days in, the heat started breaking things. Baz's hands bled from the wheel. Dumi's goggles fried from the sun. Even Z, hard as iron, started seeing shadows that weren't there, and then they found bones. Half buried in the sand, torn clothes, old gear. Someone else had come looking for the artifact. They didn't make it back. Z didn't say a word. She just stared at the bones and kept walking. By sunset, they reached it, Tombukora, the lost town. And beneath its broken towers, something was waiting.
Night fell hard over Tombukora. The town looked dead, but the sand still breathed. Z led the way. Her right cyber eye picked up heat where no life should be. Baz followed, machete out, shoulders like a moving wall. Dumi came last, drones circling his head like angry flies. They stepped through broken doors, past rotten wood and rusted iron. On every wall, sand had painted strange symbols no one could read. Under one collapsed tower they found a stairwell, cut straight into the earth. Cool air rose from below, air that smelled too old to belong to the living. They went down. The tunnel was narrow. Their boots sank in powder-fine dust. Each breath tasted of bones. 50 steps in, Baz's light caught something. A carving of a man without a face, arms wide, sand pouring from his chest. Dumi shivered. He felt the stone move, though it did not. Deeper still, the walls began to hum. Quiet at first, then louder, like a drum far away. Z raised a hand. Her right eye flashed red. The ground under them pulsed. One more step, she thought, and the place would wake up. She took that step. The floor cracked. Sand poured in, fast as water. They fell into a chamber the size of a cathedral, lit by a single blue glow. And there it was, the artifact. A small stone orb, floating above an altar of black rock. Inside the orb, red light swirled like trapped fire. Dumi reached first. Sand peeled the skin on his fingers, but he kept going. Baz held the rope, muscles shaking. Z watched the orb turn, slow as a dying heart. When Dumi touched it, every torch in the room flared at once. Old air screamed out of hidden vents. Something alive, or maybe already dead, moved in the dark corners. Z grabbed the orb, wrapped it in cloth, and ordered the climb. The hum turned into thunder. Stone began to drop from the ceiling. They escaped the chamber with seconds to spare. Behind them, the altar split in two and fire rose from the crack. At the top of the stairwell, moonlight met them, bright as day. Tumbakora shook like a beast waking from long sleep. Z looked at the orb in her hands and felt it, breathing. The hunt was over. The war had just begun. The sand was quiet. Too quiet. Z could feel it in her chest, that tightening. Like the desert itself was holding its breath. Behind her, Baz scanned the horizon, hand on his machete. Dumi, limping and bruised, checked his drone feed. But it was already too late. The ground cracked open. Bullets tore through the silence like angry gods waking up. From the sand dunes, mercs rose, covered in desert cloth and cyber gear, rifles blazing. Z didn't flinch. Her cyber eye lit red. She dropped the orb into her side pouch and spun, gun drawn.
You see, these bastards didn't know who they were messing with.
Baz roared, like a lion cornered, and charged into the fray, machete swinging. Dumi rolled behind a dune, his drone zipping up to blast static into enemy comms. Z moved like wind and thunder. 1 second crouched, next second flying through the air, boots in a merc's face. Coldly she shot clean. 3 rounds. 3 men dropped. The desert drank their blood like it missed the taste. Baz was hit, shoulder. Dumi's drone fried. The mercs weren't regular scavengers. Someone had sent them. And Z. She knew exactly who. Beat. Her old crew. The ones she left for dead. Slow, gritty, and now. They were coming to collect. They made it out alive. But something felt wrong. Real wrong. The outpost was empty, no guards, no signal, no backup. Just rust, dust, and shadows that didn't move right. Z felt it in her bones. Baz was bleeding but wouldn't stop pacing. Dumi kept twitching like static was crawling up his back. Z said nothing. Just listened. And then, she heard it. Not outside. Inside. The comms box, live. Broadcasting. Coordinates. Their coordinates. Somebody sent those mercs. Somebody gave them their position. Z turned to Dumi. He froze. You wanna tell me what this is? She said. Her voice low. Knife level sharp. Dumi swallowed. Tried to speak. But his hands. Already reaching for his belt. Z's pistol was faster. 1 shot. Silence. He was family once. But out here in the dust. Even family sells you for credits. Baz didn't say a word. Just looked at Dumi's body like it was a rock on the road. Then nodded. Z holstered her gun. And turned to the burning sun. She had somewhere to be. And hell was waiting. Night came fast. Cold. Empty. No stars. They took shelter in a hollowed-out cave, broken tech everywhere. Old rebel signals still blinked on rusted panels. It smelled like metal and secrets. Z didn't sleep. She stared at the orb. It was humming again. Not loud. Just enough to mess with her thoughts. Baz sat nearby, sharpening a blade, saying nothing. They both knew it wasn't over. Not even close. She connected the orb to a cracked console. For a second, nothing. Then static. Then a voice. Not dummies. Not a merc. A woman. Cold. Clear. Artificial. You were never meant to survive Dust Point. Z froze. Baz stood. The orb flared blue. A map blinked onto the screen. Coordinates, names, time stamps. Private drops. Secret routes. And one word, Red 0. Baz whispered, "That's not a bounty." Z nodded. "That's a kill list." Her name was at the top. Z stood, loaded her pistol, eyes glowing. "We burn them all." Z came at dawn. No more hiding. The wind screamed across the sand, but she didn't flinch. Her boots hit the dirt like war drums. Red 0 stood ahead. A metal fortress buried into the bones of the earth. Baz walked beside her. Blade in one hand. Vengeance in the other. Behind them, the two Warris. Heavily armed, faces painted with dust and anger. Loaded their rifles without a word. Z's cyber eye blinked red. She wasn't walking in to fight. She was walking in to end something. The front gates were guarded by ex-mercs. They never saw her coming. She shot the first one in the eye. No warning. Just blood and steel. Baz rushed the second. Machete under the chin, lifted him off the ground. Screams. Sirens. It began. Bullets tore through the yard. Z ducked behind a crate, reloaded, then popped two heads without blinking. She moved like smoke. Fast, angry, unstoppable. The Warris split left and right, dropping bodies as they cleared the outer courtyard. Z kicked in a steel door. Inside, a control room full of terrified engineers. She shot the console first. Then the camera. Then the comms. No one was calling for help. She reached the lower level. Red lights flashing. Electric hum. AI voice counting down a lockdown. Too late. Z dropped a grenade in the hallway. Metal screamed. Fire roared. She stormed into the vault. And there he was. Dummy. Alive. Hiding. He didn't beg. Just looked at her like he knew. "I had no choice," he said. Z didn't answer. Her gun answered for her. One shot. Right between the eyes. Silence. She walked past his body. No tears. No hesitation. Baz and the Warris caught up. They were bleeding. But they were alive. The orb was on a pedestal. Still glowing. Still watching. Z lifted it. Held it in her hands. "Is it over?" Baz asked. Z looked at the names on the kill list one last time. "No," she said. "But they know I'm coming." She walked out of Red 0. As it burned behind her, the wind picked up. The sun cracked the horizon. And for the first time in a long time, Z smiled. Not because she was free, but because she finally felt alive.